information about privacy, please visit mensline.org.au/privacy. For your rights and responsibilities using this service, visit ontheline.org.au and navigate to the Consumer Rights and Responsibilities link. We would appreciate feedback on your call today. Please remain on the line at the end of your call if you wish to participate in our anonymous survey. Your call will be answered by the first available counsellor.
Emergency mental health in Charles Road.
Mensline Australia, Stephen speaking.
Hey Stephen, look mate, I'm at the end.
Help, bud? What's your first name, bud?
Vance, mate.
No worries, mate. How can I?
Last name's Pollard. I'm at the end of my line.
Okay.
15 years of full-on mental health abuse, police terrorism, kidnapping of my son, murder of two of my children in corrupt courts, and I can't walk, I can't go out of my room, I'm a cripple, they've stolen millions of dollars off me, and I can't get any help anywhere in Australia. I've got a terabyte of recorded telephone calls, videos on corrupt doctors, lawyers, judges, police, politicians. I've even got a letter from Scott Morrison, cabinet, in January, guaranteeing me help. Haven't heard from him since. After he got untied. And I went to Royal Adelaide Hospital. They broke my back that badly that all the books say I should never walk. Right? There's video of me waiting in the waiting room. I put it on YouTube. Corrupt police in South Australia locked me in jail with a broken back. I've never been to jail before. 6 weeks in, they knew my back was broken. They told me I had arthritis. The charge was because I called Lifeline and told them Royal Adelaide Hospital had broken my back. Creating a false belief, they said I lied. But they knew about it, they're covering it up, and they won't stop abusing me. They've robbed me of tens of millions of dollars. I invented the Heart Smart app for Apple Watches. I can prove it. I've been fighting for 16 years.
How come you're not being paid for that?
Huh?
Right.
Because it was stolen while I was put in jail by the corrupt police who picked me up from Glenside Mental Institution, who were supposed to be the experts in post-traumatic stress, right? Who illegally let me go because SACAT lost my paperwork for a week, and I always beat psychiatrists at tribunals. I'm like savant, autistic, right? And they lie. I've got 15 years of lies because welfare stole my son with no lawyer in court for him or me. Their psychiatrist wrote up a whole heap of lies. I had him on the stand for 6 hours. He changed it all, right? Christian Porter covered it up. Police have been setting me up for over a decade. I've proven it. It's happening here in Adelaide, right here, right now. I proved that police have committed crimes and set me up. I used a Supreme Court precedent because Aboriginal Legal Rights Movement done a backyard deal with the corrupt police and judges, and I'd done 6 months jail with a 50% fracture of my L5, 40% fracture of my L1, without one painkiller, for calling Lifeline and telling them that I had my back broken by a hospital who used excessive force to drug me with antipsychotics because I'm losing it because no one is abiding by the laws. My kids are dead, my son's being abused, I can prove it, and no one in Australia will help me at all, ever. And I've got everything to prove it. It's all, I just posted a shitload on YouTube this morning and Facebook again. I've got film of me getting 2 aggravated home invasions in South Australia by a slumlord who breaks the laws all the time. He used South Australian police as his own personal thugs to break and disregard Residential Tenancy Act. They abuse the Mental Health Act, bash you, arrest you, and SACAT are helping them. And I've beaten the doctors at SACAT, proving I don't need the medication that they assumedly arrested me for. They arrested me at Christmas, right? Locked me in a mental institution for 3 weeks. I went there 4 weeks earlier, laying on the floor screaming in pain. They sent me home without even a painkiller. 4 weeks later, I'm locked up for 3 weeks. Everything I own is stolen. I'm left with 1 laptop, the clothes I'm wearing, and 1 backpack.
How did everything get stolen, Dennis?
Because I was staying at a backpackers, right? Because of this criminal activity that they done. I mean, I got released from Glenside. On video to the cops, I said, I will speak for myself, no one speaks for me. They took me back homes, took me back to the police station, told Robert Gillespie from Aboriginal Legal Rights that I had a mental problem and for him to speak for me, right? Put me in a cell for 2 days, no painkillers, I'm dying with a broken back, I can't walk. The only reason I can is 15 years of martial arts and training to use my adrenaline, right? And they put me in front of a judge who will not let me speak. I had no lawyer for me. Police prosecution get up and say I'm on terrorism charges in Western Australia for my knowledge in chemistry and mathematics and for quoting Guy Fawkes when I wrote to 8 politicians in Perth in 2008, just after I got expelled from university for proving they've been teaching the wrong mathematics for the last 30 years. 4 years ago, and they've been bashing and drugging me for a decade for that, and they still do, even though Microsoft and half of China changed their calculators 4 years ago to what they drug and bash me for. And I can't get a lawyer anywhere. I can't get any help. Prime Minister's cabinet lies.
You haven't tried to organise a couple of appointments with any...
Mate, I've been doing this 16 years. My IQ's 160. I have been everywhere. I have done everything. I have dedicated my whole life to it.
It's just that I would think that with all the...
Yeah. This is your problem. Everybody assumes that these pricks, right, in mental health and police are good people. The Australian Police Force is the biggest criminal organisation in Australia. I have the evidence to back it up. Mental health is the biggest reason why people commit suicide, like Mr. Little and the kids who ran off the road. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to commit suicide. I used to before my son was born. Right? I won't, I made him a promise. But they murdered 2 of my children, mate. Bitch welfare got up in court, said my ex too far gone on drugs to have the 4-year-old. 6 days later, let her have the baby. They got back on the drugs. Right? 5 months later, she rings me 7:30 in the morning, 2nd of December 2007, walking down the street with my dead daughter in her arms that I've never ever seen. 7 years before I learned to even know where the grave was, and that's because I tried to put her through rehab and spent 30 grand so she wouldn't end up dead in the gutter for our son. Right?
So how are you coping financially at the moment?
Nothing, mate. I'm nothing. I'm supposed to be a multi-millionaire. My government superannuation stole off me millions of dollars. I proved it at the tribunal, right? I proved that the insurance company MetLife lied at the Royal Commission. They said no total disability has taken over 300 days. Mine's 660. My lawyers, Firth's, biggest scam and artists out, I beat them in the Supreme Court of Melbourne, 12th of June 2015. for their payment, right?
Okay, so why didn't you then get something out of it in that sense? Why weren't
I
you?
got 280,000 out of 15 million. Right, because they took so long. I also done 2 years of accounting degree, 2 out of 3 years of accounting degree. Right, my mother is a corrupt accountant. My cousin is the editor of Minor Monthly, which makes and breaks this country. What he reports about companies in the mining industry puts their share prices up and down. They've been doing insider trading for 30 years. Told ASICs this over 5 years. I've been giving them information. ASICs have only charged one person in the last 10 years. Right? This Royal Commission into Disability Abuse is all a lie and a cover-up. I've got a letter from Scott Morrison, Nigel Scullion, proving it. In January 25th, before he got on TV and cried about his poor little fucking brother with MS, I got a cricket bat in a home invasion in 2000. 11 titanium plates, 27 screws. I died. Neurosurgeons left this 1 centimetre ball of dead brain matter on my right hand frontal lobe. Okay? I had a broken arm. Getting jabbed with morphine 5-6 times a day in there. They said 6 weeks minimum in hospital. 6 days they released me with a broken arm, with 20 Panadine 4-day, no help follow-up. My GP helped me.
Did they have with your arm that was broken put in plaster and that sort of
No, they refused to even fucking x-ray it. My GP had to do it. And he is the head of the Palmerston drug industry in the worst affected area in Australia, Mandurah, where I come from, where the police, the courts and welfare run the drug industry, murder children, force people to commit suicide, blackmail, terrorism is just a normal daily concept. And before I had a child, I used to do stuff for the police, right? The head of internal affairs, his son, 10-15% of the southwest market drug he controls, right? Bradley, okay? The commissioner for police, his son had blown up a house in a speed lab. Minimum term in Australia, in WA, for manufacturing of amphetamines is 8 years. Out in 2, fucking caught in another speed lab in 9 months. And that's the commissioner's son, right? The head of the drug rehabilitation, right? Dr. Backhouse is Palmerston, right? Neil, Dr. George O'Neill, mate, he's a pervert pedophile that writes scripts out to young women to get what he wants sexually, films it at a house, right? He's got blackmail on everybody. There's 5 sea containers of people brought in from other countries that are drugged up and used in prostitution rings that are run by the police and this doctor and gangs, right? I've got doctors that will back me up on this, that are too scared of all these people. And still, I can't get help. 2010 protesting outside of Parliament House. I lived at the tent embassy for 3 months. Over the kidnapping of my son. No lawyer in court. A legal court. Yeah. Their psychiatrist took back what he wrote after I had him on the stand for 6 hours. They had no grounds to take him off me. I had working with children's card. I raised a handicapped daughter for 2.5 years. Got her going to school, everything like that. Worked with children, worked with disabled people all my life. I've seen my son for less than 10 days in the last 12 years. Right? His junkie mum who spreads her leg for the next needle, and that's what her mum taught her. Right? And her mum's the one that stole my son and is abusing it. And I got a letter off of the doctor in 2016, psychiatrist, saying my son is being abused in the care of welfare. He's part of the stolen generation because it never stopped. They just pay more money to cover it up or force people to commit suicide.
So how come you're not getting support from
Because there isn't any in Australia.
Sorry?
There is nothing in Australia at all. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I haven't been to the Northern Territory and I haven't been to New South Wales. Been everywhere. 30 years I've been investigating the mental health because I finished year 12 in year 8. My dad sexually abused me. Right? He ran off with all the money that I got him a contract because Alan Bond used to play chess with me when I was younger, him and his best mate. And his best mate's my sister's godfather. His daughter is the reason why he done what he done, because mental health fucked her and she committed suicide, so he screwed Australia.
Oh, I see.
Right? That's why he done what he done, mate. But nobody says anything about his second daughter. She used to babysit me, mate. Her and her best friend, Katie Diamond. I can name it all, I can prove it all. The records are at Royal Perth Yacht Club when I used to go there for dinner. He gave my dad the contract, he ran off with all the fucking money. My mum's best friend, I was forced to leave school, go out, work. I had the highest security clearance than 98% of people in Australia working at the Defence Forces. I actually got into the Navy as a qualified marine engineer. But 8 weeks before I flew out to Cerberus, a young kid pushed me off the road into a tree.
Oh, that's a horrible thing to have happened.
Right? Police put me on terrorist watch alert for my knowledge in chemistry and mathematics and computers and electronics, right? Because I wrote to 8 politicians in 2008 in Perth, quoting Guy Fawkes, remember the 5th of November, the public holiday. I've given the information to England. This case, I put a Supreme Court case in front of a judge, right? They changed judges, they changed prosecution, called a doctor in, who I'd never seen before. They were supposed to dismiss the case because they don't have the power to override a Supreme Court judge, Supreme Court precedent, right? They were supposed to pay me compensation. They call in the judge, saw me 10 minutes before court. I can't hardly walk. I'm in so much pain. I'm refused painkillers. I'm refused Valium that I've used for the ADHD and the brain injury for the last 15 years. I've never abused them.
Can't your doctor provide you with that?
I've been to over 100 doctors. For 5 years in Western Australia, they forced me, a person with a disability, to line up at drug rehabilitation clinics every 2 weeks.
But that's years ago now.
No. This is 2015, and I fled there to come here for help with a doctor's note, right? Because I was breaching bail because I flogged my stepfather because he flogged my 7-year-old son with a belt. Welfare gave it to me in writing 5 years afterwards. Police, I tried for 14 months to have him charged with assault on a child as a weapon. My dad used to tie me to a tree or a clothesline and whip me with a belt to stop the ADHD. Right? He raped me. He gave me fucking an STD. My mother punched me in the head for telling on him.
Pretty horrible upbringing by your parents.
Mate, I come from the town that Highway to Hell and Dirty Deeds is written about. The one Bon Scott comes from. I come from there.
Yep.
Right? I know more hell than anybody. And, for the last decade, they're tapping my phones, hacking my computers, deleting evidence, breaking into my house, stealing stuff, right? While I was locked up at the institute, the hospital, that I'd been there 4 weeks earlier for begging for help. They locked me up for 3 weeks. SACAT lost the paperwork at Christmas for a week. The police organised for the 2 suitcases of original documents that I've been collecting over the last 15 years. Right, I've got copies of them, I don't give a fuck, right? But they were, for that, all my tools, my car, all my computer, everything, organised for it all to be stolen. The guy that stole it has got the most severe mental problem out, right? gets up in the middle of the night screaming that he's going to kill you because you're reading his mind, right? Centrelink give him, the manager at Centrelink at Port Adelaide gives him the private number because he abuses their staff. He's not on any mental health orders. He stole all my stuff. I got all the receipts and proof. They won't even get it back. I got one pair of clothing, one computer, and one backpack. I had to go out and buy stuff out of my own money, pay for the taxis to the police station to make the reports of the crime. The social worker at the mental hospital said he'd reimburse me, then refused. Right?
Yeah,
I got $280,000 on total and permanent disabled because neurosurgeon, after the home invasion, left dead brain matter in my head. I can't walk because of negligent criminal doctors, judges, lawyers, and no one will help me. No one at all. And I have tried everybody in Australia, Amnesty International, and I'm supposed to be in England helping the Druids fight the court case for Stonehenge. Because I've got a photographic memory, and when I take Valium to slow my brain down because of the scarring, I can access it. But I mean, I've bought some illegally now because I'm in court again with these corrupt cops and judges who have remanded the case 8 times, overrode a judge. I proved that they've committed crimes. That they arrested me for driving, mate. Okay? My licence is suspended because I had 6 vehicles in WA stolen, including my $120,000 mobile home bus, $120,000 BMW,